Good morning and welcome to Morning Moments. I'm so glad that you've joined us today. My guest today is a award-winning author, speaker, and actress, Justina Page, and I am so glad that you came to join us this morning.
It is definitely my honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Uh, you've been touched in the film industry, but author, speaker, but God's got so many things for you. I ask you, why do you do what you do, and what's God speaking to your heart?
I'll tell you what, I'll start off with this. I believe personally that hope is the heartbeat of survival. And I've been dubbed at the unit where I do most of my volunteer work for burn survivor as the hope angel. And everything I do is rooted in one thing: glorifying him, bringing him to the forefront so that people might see him and have hope in times of hopelessness. My recent things that I'm working on, I like to call it media missionary training, because I believe that's all. When we do fake films, we're media missionaries. And I feel like I'm at the beginning stages and I'm being trained to be a media missionary. It's amazing. I was blessed to be a part of Reflective Life Media with executive producer Carla McDougall, who is awesome, by the way. Shout out to her and the whole team. They're just awesome. But I was asked to play a part, my first part with them, and use part of my story as a burn survivor, part of my story in the storyline. But in that, it's incredible how real fictional, I think sometimes fictional stories are more real than actual life sometimes. And they could touch real issues and they touch real parts. And I've been on speaking engagements. I was at a speaking engagement in Vegas with a group of youth, troubled youth. And one of the people that were over the kids came up to me and like, "Your Aunt Hazel." I was like, whoa, and they wanted advice and they wanted, some of the real things that I was displaying. Well, thank God I was playing myself in the movie. I was actually my own self, so I was able to help. But my heart is in glorifying him. I'm real big on overcoming obstacles. A lot of times God's people, they cower under struggle or they break under pressure. And resiliency is big on my heart now. We have to be resilient. We've been told that things will happen, but to be of good cheer, he's overcome the world. So that's part of where my heart is. I'm currently in a TV series now that I am super excited about called Breaking Strongholds. And it's touching on, well, this first season is touching on teen suicide. And here where I live in Montgomery, Texas, unfortunately, they have the highest rate of teenage suicide. But we're going to delve into the issue and bring some solutions and have some resources on the back end of the film to help deal with that epidemic. I have the chance to play myself again and bring my husband in, who's the local pastor, which he is a pastor in real life, and a love interest. So it's going to be a fascinating story. It's really, really good. So I'm enjoying that. And I have a nonprofit. Everything I do, everything I make, all the funds I get for all of my endeavors, whether it's speaking engagements, whether it's the books, whatever I'm doing, they all funnel into my main part and my nonprofit, the Amos House of Faith. And that's a nonprofit I established to support children and families affected by burn trauma. So where my main heart is helping those who can't help themselves, those who are really struggling and need to make it and need resources to do so. Backstory: myself, my husband, 6 boys. We were in a horrific house fire where we lost one of our 22-month twin sons on site, and myself and the other twin were severely injured. It was a horrific time in our life, but gosh, I tell you, God has a way of making all things beautiful in his time. And he really does know how to turn our mourning into dancing. It's just amazing. We serve a absolutely phenomenal God. So those are the things that are mostly in my heart right now. Just glorifying him, using my story for his glory.
And he's opened doors up for you, not only as an author, you've authored, is it 2 books now or 3?
Actually, I have 13 books.
13 books. Wow. I didn't realize you had that many books out. I was looking at 1 or 2 of them, but I didn't really. So you're author of 13 books, award-winning books, and become a speaker to be able to speak in churches and other areas. A lot of different events, not just churches, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
and then God just opens doors now that you can share your heart of what's going on as an actress as well, right?
Yes, he does. I think here's the reality. I'll share this real short story. I remember after I fully recovered, meaning I was able to walk again, I was able to use my hands again, I was able to drive again, and I drove to my first woman fellowship. Now, I am in a household with all males. You have no idea how much a woman fellowship means to a person like me. So I'm driving, I'm excited. And when I get there, I see the women walking in and they have their young children. And some of them are the age of when Amos passed. And I go into a full-blown cry. I just totally break down in the car. And my friend's neighbor is watching me and he's not sure if he should come help me or what's going on. I mean, I'm just bawling. Why, God? Why me? Oh, God, why me? Why they have their children? Why come I don't have mine? What was wrong with me? I on and on and on. And I'll never, ever forget what God told me. And he told me, this is not about you. And I stopped for a minute. I mean, it just stopped my crying for a minute. And I'm kind of a humorous person. I just went into this hysterical laughter. And I know the man thought I was off my rocker, but that was so funny to me. I'm like, well, God, okay, it doesn't involve me, but it sure involved a lot of me. What could you please give me an explanation? What are you talking about? And he said that our lives, he doesn't revolve around our lives. He's the son. We revolve around him. Mm. And he began to break some things down to me about how all things work together for good. He's always working something. And he said, don't ask me why. And I do this, it's been over 20 years and I still do this to this day. He said, ask me what now? That's the question you need an answer to. Because if I told you why, chances are you wouldn't understand it. It wouldn't change one thing. But if you could learn to ask me what now, then I can give you some direction, you can move forward, and you can see my glory. And it works. I do it all the time.
There are so many people that have been paralyzed and defined, and their identity has been their past and the tragedies in their life, the different things that's happened in their life, that has become their identity. And I believe Christ wants us to say, your identity should be in me, the redemptive power I've given you, not who you think you are. Your identity, you are special in God's sight. I've often said that God doesn't, one of the things that amazes me most about the love of God is that God's not going to love me any more or any less than he does right this minute.
That's right.
He loves me unconditionally. He loves me enough loves me the way I am when I came to him, but he also loves me enough not to allow me to stay that way. And he says
Thank
now,
God.
yes. And but his love is so wondrous. He puts up with all of our emotions. He puts up with all our questions and our questions about why, rather than that, God saying, well, you should be asking what's next, because God's got a great plan for us. But some people are so trapped in the
Yes, he
whys.
does.
They're so trapped into why me, that why me mentality, where you, you should, God's just waiting for you to surrender. When surrender is your reasonable service, you could expect great things from God. God is waiting for you out there to surrender the whys to him. Say it's all yours. It doesn't matter why, God. I know who you are. And when you do that, it's amazing what happens.
Yeah. Well, we have to trust in who he is. We have to know his character, and we have to stay faithful to that no matter what's going on in our lives.
Yeah. And when we understand his character, then we understand that he's not doing anything to harm us. He's gonna be he's taking the things that happened, and he's gonna make it to our good and to his good and his purpose, his and your hope and your future.
That's right. Right. Absolutely.
Justina, it has been a pleasure to get to know you, to hear about your writings and your acting and speaking. And down below in the comment section, I'm going to be putting many of your websites and information about you, so they know where you're speaking, they know how to get your books, they know some of the films that you're in and the TV shows that you're in, that they could follow you. But more important than that, I want you to be praying for Justina Page. And I want you to just pray that God would continue to use her to reach those who are suffering. Use her to continue to bring in the message of hope to people who feel hopeless. uh, Next time you're reading a book and you turn the page, you see that page, you think of, I'm going to pray for that page lady, and pray for her right then.
Yeah.
And God's good, that
Yeah.
God would continue to bless her and her husband and their ministry. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I loved it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me for Morning Moments. Please pass this interview on to others. I think there's people who need to hear it, and keep coming back for some more Morning Moments.